Okay, hello and thanks for attending. So I'm going to talk about FFDN, which is a federation of do-it-yourself ISPs. The original speaker couldn't attend, so I'm replacing him. First of all, so we will have a slight shift in slides, but not much to worry. As I said, we are a federation of ISPs, but these ISPs are all very non-commercial. They are all targeted and made for do-it-yourself. We want to make things ourselves, to control them, to know what's going on, to not be just subscribers in a big ISP. We also volunteer-driven, and we try to be human-sized. That matters a lot because we aim for ISPs where people know each other, where you don't simply do things because someone at the other side of France has asked you to do it. And we want to make some network, some human network too. We have no employees, that helps being something human. And we also are net neutrality proponents, meaning we do our best to both fight the bad laws which we see, and to provide our subscribers with everything they need for a proper internet access. Unfortunately, as I said, sorry. That the map at the beginning, it shows ISPs which are members of FFDN. So it's the blue dots. Orange dots are related to FFDN but are not ISPs in the sense of FFDN. As you can see, we are both in Belgium and all across France. And if you want, you can go on db.ffdn.org and you will have the map, the interactive map, in which you can zoom, you can get details on each dot, and with links and status for everyone. We started in 2011. Back then we had only 7 orgs and roughly 500 members. And 5 years later we are more than 4 times as big. We have a very strong core and very active core of 50 to 60 people. I would probably say more than that actually, but that's conservative. And that doesn't count the people who are active inside the ISPs and not at the FFDN level. So even more than that. And for some background, this was started by an ISP which is named FDN 25 years ago now, and it's the oldest ISP in France which is still running, commercial or non-commercial. So our goals when we do all of that, first we want to be an alternative to large ISPs. We don't say exactly what alternatives. That's each ISP which is inside FFDN which can decide what they will do, how they will do it, which services they will offer to the members, and how they arrange for everything. One common point though is that we want to connect dark zones, which are zones mostly in the countryside with a really poor internet access or no internet access. And we try to prevent people from being kept unconnected, basically. And that it's not because they are outside of a big city that they shouldn't have an internet connection. We also want to decentralize ISPs, meaning we have ISPs in many places and we don't want all the traffic to go through Paris, basically. We want the internet to be really decentralized as it was meant to be, as it was built, and we don't want to have only a single place through which all the traffic goes. And at the same time, we also do that at the level of each subscriber because we promote self-hosting. We make it possible for everyone to self-host by providing things like static IPs, IPv4 and IPv6, and the net neutrality part where we don't block traffic or discriminate traffic, meaning you can host everything you want in the ISPs on your connection. The last part is that we cannot simply provide a service and provide or make software or whatever. We also have to think about the laws, especially the ones that are being applied right now. We believe there are too many laws that are dangerous, so we want to fight them, and we also fight what I would say a poor application of laws when people don't get enough protection what they should, simply because it's simpler to do the stupid but safe things for large ISPs. And we have quite a few working groups. So the first thing to remember is, again, that we are a federation. We do it on the federation level, and each ISP still has its own task and whatever he wants to do. So these are the federations and not each ISPs. First one is with telecom regulation. We have IPVT and RCEP, so Belgium and France, national regulators. They work for something at the EU level. And we provide them with feedback, basically, when they ask questions about how is the market doing. We tell them poorly, basically. And sometimes we also have to complain because they didn't listen to us, and we have a near monopoly situation, especially in optic fiber in France. Another one is that we teach people inside the federation. We want to share knowledge about how you make an ISP, how you run it, how you make the finance part, how you make the, as I said, sysadmin. Basically, everything that can be beneficial to share between the ISPs, we want to do it. Yeah, so legal stuff, fun stuff I would say, because we have an issue that large ISPs want to save their own ass, or at least their business, and they don't want to protect people, which is what we want to do. So we have to spend more time and to be the first ones to understand our laws, our national laws, our EU directives, to be sure that we don't over-apply or over-interpret the laws. We want to do the minimum that abides by the law, but still respect our members. So the main things which we are against are data retention, interceptions, and administrative blocking. If you go to a large ISP, usually administrative blocking, they will do it just on whenever asked. We'll fight, we'll go against if we want, well, if we can. But it's true that we are helped because we are not a large ISP. We are not large ISP, sorry. And usually we are not big enough to make our rulers bother with them, with us. Sorry. Exeget is a working group which, so as I say, tech geeks from FFDN and law geeks from LQDN. LQDN is La Quadrature du Net. So I call them law geeks because I think they are basically trying to debug the law. It's basically taking the same approach as with software or whatever, but applied to law. Really understand what's going on, how it's not working, and what has to be fixed. And that's basically complain to our court of justice, try to, when it doesn't succeed, escalate it, and so on. And you get a few news from them in the media. Oh yeah, and actually I would say that the real way we do all of that is that we care for each other. We do whatever we can to share and to work together. We have, as I said, a group of 60 people or something like that. And we usually have almost always have more than a couple people working on a given topic. Meaning we can change people who work on them, we don't really burn out because of that, and we always have support in the community. And since it's FOSDEM, I'm going to talk about our relation to free software. You must probably know why you should use free software. So it's the no locking, the no stupid licensing schemes, and with whatever you can run software for 1 year, but not more. And especially the no vendor specific hardware part, because that's some of our hardware. So it's, as I said, it's really community hardware. So inexpensive, can be given by companies which help us. So really helps avoiding costs. And that's another one which we can use, which is quite a bit smaller, but still very efficient from PC engines, for instance. And we can run the same things on it. That one can actually run VPN at 6 megabytes per second, I think. About the software that we use, yeah, once again, we are a federation. We also welcome new ISPs, but each ISP can use the tool it wants. We don't have a specific set. We don't force a specific set. We tend to share the ones which are useful in common, but we don't force anything. We have quite a few, and starting for subscriber connectivity. Since we do DSL, we have a few stuff like L2TP and PPPoE. Yeah, I'm not going to go through the list in details, but the important part is that we use a lot of them. We have to authenticate users. We have to shuffle data around between sites and handle DSL lines. We also have to handle our own machines. As part of our ISP service, we do name servers. We do basically unfiltered, well, uncensored weather name servers. We have some which are open on the internet with weight limiting. Yeah, we really use a lot of that. And for instance, we even have to use HSager and Dolibar for our accounting parts. So it's really a wide spectrum. And once again, yeah, some more projects. I don't really talk about it, but we have radio links which we used for the remote access. Lots of OpenWRT, and I say ubiquity, even if it's not really completely free software usually. Yeah, so we also provide services for members and subscribers. So that can be emails. We host our mailing list for collaboration. We also do a lot of collaboration on Etherpod Lite. Sometimes I feel like we are the biggest users of Etherpod Lite in the world, maybe. And yeah. Since we are doing it yourself, one interesting part is that you can simply, if you are a member of one ISP and you are missing a service, just do it. Just come, use the machines, and install it if you want. As part of our ISPs too, we've created a few tools to help us where we had gaps. So tools to vote, and Coin, for instance, which is a tool to manage members and subscriptions. As far as I remember, it's based on Django. It's quite modern and can be used for pretty much any kind of group with subscribers. FFDN is the map that we had at the beginning. It gives you the places where you have a local ISP and whom you should talk to when you are in a given spot or a given city. We also do have Selots and Wi-Fi with me in order to be able to put Wi-Fi antennas or other kind of wireless links across long distances. So for instance, to link two villages to churches, we are going to make sure that we can see each other easily, that we don't have obstacles or trees or anything. And we also go as far as adopting projects which are unmaintained, because for instance for L2TPNS, we need it for DSL. It's quite uncommon, but we do need it. And we also get involved into projects like DBN to make sure packages that we use are maintained and everything. There's code.ffdn.org, which is a GOGS instance. it has a number of projects, you can just go there, and don't worry, the color scheme is only mine. It's not as ugly usually. Sorry. Yeah, sometimes we get asked if we really had to make our own ISPs. And I think we really had to, and we still have to, because if you look at what an ISP can do, it can insert ads. That's especially true in the US, apparently. I don't know how they stand it, but it happens. Some censoring, be it administrative or because your ISP doesn't like what you are looking at. And it also helps mass surveillance. We definitely don't want to help that. We might be in a position where we cannot prevent it, but at least we're not helping it. And finally, they can also hijack your traffic, redirect it to advertising website when you have a domain not found and stuff like that. It's very easy, it happens all the time, as I said, especially in the US. So, but also in France, we have a few bad stories about each ISP, each large ISP. So we made our own. And I feel like that's something we have in common with free software in general, because we simply don't trust what we are given for a fee and which we cannot see. We cannot know how it's working. So we make our own. You can make your own too if you want. It's really not difficult. And I would say that it's also really linked to how free software and the internet have grown during the past 2 decades. Both have grown a lot, and they could not have existed one without the other. So that's it. If you have any question, go on. Yeah. So basically the question is, do you help to create small ISPs, well, new small ISPs, and how do you manage the fact that you are not going to start making an autonomous system only for 10 people? It's quite simple actually, because we are definitely going to help, we want to teach, we want this to spread. And if you have a resource that you need but which you cannot afford or which doesn't make sense in making at first, then we can share it. We have ISPs which don't have the AS themselves. They simply share someone else or host VMs across networks. There are some things that can be shared. And if you don't want or cannot make them yourself at first, we'll share them. Here's a question.
I'm supposing you are connected to some endpoints to go to the internet. How do you assure that they don't do what ISP do? Because if you link to them, you need some trust.
No, that's a very good question. In practice, we cannot really ensure that our providers for network traffic and peering won't do whatever the commercial ISPs do. But well, it turns out that they don't really. We might have non-perfect relationships with some, but we have a stronger commercial agreements usually. So they tend to not try to do that, but even then our first points to the greater internet are usually friendly either groups or companies. But in any case, at that point, it's good to make sure that you have end-to-end encryption and so on. Blocking is unlikely to happen, and for instance, DNS is usually not outside of one ISP's infrastructure, so that's good. Throttling can, but then it's commercial stuff. And as for spying, do end-to-end encryption.
You have a protocol to monitorize your partner?
To monitor?
Yes.
If
they don't block stuff.
So I'm not aware of something that checks our providers are clean. Or at least not something automated. Probably the most automated thing is that people start shilling on Twitter when something goes wrong. And since we are not alone, we won't be the only one impacted. You're going to have companies and tons of hostings and so on. So it's going to get noticed, usually. But we don't have something automated for that. Any question? Yeah?
What I guess is you're running mostly off x86 hardware. And did you have any problems with too much traffic and need to fix the OS itself? Or is it?
No. Well, I'm not aware of such issues. So, so the question was whether we were running into cases where we had too much traffic for our setups, be them hardware or software. So no, we don't have such issues as far as I know. Well, sometimes it happens, but because some people have decided to DDoS you. But even then, it's not. I'm not aware of such issues. I'm not the one the most involved in that part of the ISPs, but haven't had an issue myself. Only heard about one DDoS last year. That was not very long, and not that high anyway. So, in practice, no. Yeah.
In France, the law can ask you to block a website by DNS. How do you handle that?
Well, as far as I know, it's not by DNS, but block it, and you get to choose. What happens is that if you are not among the top 3 or 4 ISPs, you basically get, you don't even get asked to do it. There are 1,000 ISPs registered in France, more than that actually. They don't have to do that. Our domain blocking stuff in France is definitely a mass, it's only for the masses. So if you don't have 5 million subscribers, you won't get bothered by it. And if you do, well, we do what we can to get a court order to fix that. I'm not saying we would succeed, but we'd try.
Do you think something interesting to put kind like a canary on FFDN website to say there's something wrong on our network? No.
Interesting question. FFDN probably not. Sorry. Should we make a canary on the website? Well, FFDN probably not. HISPs, that could be interesting. At that point, you should ask directly the ISPs. But yeah, I think it would be interesting to have something like that. Yeah?
Do you believe there should be absolutely no blocking on the internet, or are there some subjects where you're morally obligated to block it?
So, do we believe there should be no blocking at all on the internet? Or are there things that should be blocked? It's a good question, and my point on that is that it's not really ours to decide. What we already have a legal framework for that. We oppose the meaningless extension of that, but we have to abide by the law. So we can work on it, work on making things better, but we are not fully trained to, at least in FFDN, to find the best balance between blocking and freedom of speech.
All right.
That's all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's so.
We need to run. You can talk to it later.